Hello, my name is Mikita Smith, and my son abuses prescription drugs. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, 64% of youth ages 12 to 17 who have abused pain relievers say that they got them from friends or relatives, often without the person's knowledge. Prescription drugs are easier to get than many people realize, and that's part of the reason why they are so rampant and being abused among teenagers. Any teenagers can be affected by it, and the questions that you need to ask yourself is how does it affect you, how does it affect your family, and how you can identify the problem with your teenager. More than 60% of teenagers say that the prescription pills that they get, that they abuse, they're getting at home or from friends, from medicine cabinets where parents or grandparents or relatives are not monitoring. They are very, very easy for them to get. Students now have them brought to school. They're really small. They can be hidden from teachers and from other students. So the teenagers can actually take them at school, and the parents or the teachers will not even realize what it is that's going on with them. Also, there's a lot of farming parties going around where teenagers are taking the pills to parties and putting them in a bowl, and they're sharing them, with other teenagers. And so they're taking that risk of exposing themselves to mixing a different type of pills, which can be a deadly combination. A big problem with it is that doctors are not always monitoring prescriptions. People have back pain or may have accidents or have dental work done. Doctors are prescribing it, and they're prescribing the pills in excess. And what this is doing is leaving a lot of unmonitored and unused pills at home. And so a lot of teenagers are just, simply going and getting them for mom and dad, and parents are not even realizing what's going on. There are some things that you can look for in teenagers who are abusing drugs. If you've got a teenager who usually has a sunny disposition, and all of a sudden they're really aggressive or depressed or they seem stressed out, that's something that parents really do need to look at, because that can be a red flag. Also, a change in appearance. If you've got a teenager who is usually really particular about how they look, and then maybe they're not shaving, or a female is not keeping her hair done, or just looks really sloppy and slovenly, that can also be a red flag. Usually a teenager who is abusing drugs is going to lose weight because they're not going to have an appetite. They're not going to be able to eat. So a lot of rapid weight loss in a teenager is also a red flag for parents. Another thing is you should know your children's friends. If your friend or your son or daughter has been friends with the same circle of friends for years and years and years, and all of a sudden they change their circle of friends, that's a red flag. Usually teenage abusers are going to gravitate to other teenage abusers, so they're not going to want to still be around the same friends as before, because they're not going to want to have to hide that from friends. They're going to want to be able to do it openly. Also, you should monitor your teenager's schoolwork. A teenager is not going to be able to get high and be able to keep up their work, so you should keep in contact with your child's teacher and see how their grades are going. If there's also all of a sudden a rapid loss and their grades are not doing homework, progress reports are not good, that's also a red flag. Another thing is if you have a teenager who always needs money but can't tell you where their money is going, they have nothing to show for it, that's another thing that parents should really look out for. Sleep patterns will also change. Teenagers are notorious for sleeping till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, but a teenager who is abusing pills is a lot of times going to be, from whatever pill they're taking, they're going to be up. They're not going to be able to sleep, and it could be, for days at a time. And then they're going to all of a sudden crash also for days at a time. So a lot of the things that they're taking are stimulating their body, and they're just not going to be able to relax and rest. Prescription drug abuse is hard on a teenager mentally and physically, but it also will take a toll on a family. A lot of families, whenever they're going through that, it's a loss of their finances, because a lot of jobs are not going to be willing to deal with their employee being out of work a lot. But it's something that cannot be helped, because parents are going to have to be there, for that teenager. They're going to have to do counseling. They're just going to have to be there, for any type of emergency that might come up, with that teenager. A lot of times, whenever a teenager is abusing drugs, the family is going to feel alienated, because people will be quick to label somebody who has that going on in their family, and they don't stop and think that it can happen to them. And families are going to feel ashamed. They're not going to want to reach out to people and talk. They're going to want to kind of keep things quiet. So, they're not really going to want to be around other people who they feel like are talking about them. And also something to think about are the legal consequences. If a teenager is doing drugs, unless they have an unlimited supply of money, which many of them don't, they're going to resort to stealing or, doing other things to get their drugs, and eventually they're going to get caught. And, the consequence of that is that they're going to end up either on probation at best, or they're going to end up, also in jail. There's no way around it. They're going to have to, do something illegal to be able to get the drugs that they need. And then the emotional strain on a family is, also staggering. You're always worried about that teenager when they leave the house. Is this going to be the time you're going to get that phone call that something has happened, they've been hurt, or, they've been picked up. You're not ever going to be able to be at rest, because you're always going to wonder, what's going on with that teenager. Are they making bad decisions? Are they with, friends who are going to get them to do something? And, that can be really, really emotional, on the whole family. Parents are going to be angry with their teenager because they're going to wonder, what made that teenager do that, because if, they see other friends doing it and they see the downfall, but then teenagers still follow suit and do the same thing anyway, and parents can't understand why. There's going to be guilt, because parents feel like, if they had been paying attention, they had been monitoring, they would have been able to, stop that. They should have been able to see it and, it not get that far, out of hand. But it's really, something that kids are, they're good at hiding. So it's not a lot that, a parent can always do to pick up on that. But in closing, I'm going to leave you with a few statistics. 1/3 of all new abusers of prescription drugs since the year 2006 were 20 to 17-year-olds. The most common abused drug right now is Vicodin and Oxycontin. And those are the things that are prescribed the most, to parents or grandparents or family, and the things that are left, unattended. Teenagers feel like because they're prescription drugs that they're not as harmful as street drugs, but they have, just as damaging effects. And 60% of parents will talk to their kids about illegal drugs such as marijuana, but again, they don't stop to think about talking about prescription drugs. And they are just as serious a problem with teenagers as, marijuana, something that we always think is common among teenagers is. So it's something that, parents really need to think about, because, prescription drug abuse right now is, it's getting to be a really, really big problem and having, really bad consequences. And, teenagers just really don't think about the tremendous effect that it can have on them, now and in their future, because it can do things that, really damage the future. I know that it will, like if you're taking stimulants, that it can speed up your heartbeat. You're going to be nervous. You might have, sweats. Then, when your body doesn't have that type of drug, you're going to go through like withdrawal-like symptoms. You're going to be sick, nauseous, irritable, to the point where, like, even if you want to stop the drug, your body is going to have it. And I mean, brain-wise, what I've seen is that it makes you kind of like sluggish. I don't think you can really concentrate, on some of the things. Or if you're taking a stimulant, it's just going to have you, always nervous. You're going to have that urge to go. So I mean, the effects on it, and then long term, you're killing brain cells. You're damaging your body. You're doing damage that, it's kind of hard to undo. And I don't think a lot of, teenagers or parents, think about that or realize that. Teenagers are really damaging themselves. And then, like I said, they have the parties and they're mixing the drugs and not thinking about those negative effects, that they're having. My son had a friend who did it, and she ended up going into a coma because she took so many different things. And then, the kids knew what she had taken, but kids being kids, nobody wanted to say anything. So, it has a lot of damage that it could do on your body.
Is your son having
Yes.
recovering?
Yeah, he's recovering now. Today would be day 33 clean. But I was one of those parents who did not realize he started on his had dental work done, and he would keep telling me, it hurts, it hurts. Kept taking him back, and mind you, he's 17 years old, but they still kept giving him prescriptions for Vicodin, really really strong drugs, and it just didn't click to me. It didn't click, and I saw all of the signs. I saw him looking sloppy, schoolwork going down. But as a parent, you don't want to think that. You're thinking, okay, my kid is smarter. But kids know how to manipulate you. They tell you what you want to hear so that you kind of stay off their back. But finally, like I said, with the legal aspects, it was all there. He just kind of he hit rock bottom, and so we had to face it. But so far so good. But I worry because I know it's something he's gonna have to deal with for the rest of his life. And he'll tell me now he hates that he ever started it because he's like, it's just bad, and he wants to stay off of it, but his body, he has days where he has aches and pains.
I know.
Yeah, so
My sister's actually a recovering addict, and right now she feels that because they are prescribed that it's okay.
yeah.
So you have to be real careful with them, because she'll go through, well, my doctor's giving it to me.
Yeah.
So, and then we're learning right now today that be careful because they can get medication online.
Online, I saw that doing my research. Yeah.
So, just be careful. So,
Yeah.
with the treatment that he's getting, if a doctor is not prescribing it to him, just know that if he's getting it, he can get it offline.
Yeah, I never realized that until I started doing this research. And when I saw that, I'm like, that's amazing that, we know what a big problem is, but still you can go on the internet and be able to get it. And like you said, they don't think that because it's prescription that is bad. Because he was like, well, I don't smoke weed. He's like, so I don't understand what you're upset. He's like, it's not weed. So, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you do need to look out for that. Those sites actually need to be blocked or monitored or something. You shouldn't be able to get that type of stuff offline. More questions?
I was just wondering what your opinion on, like, when it comes to the legal repercussions that stem from drug use, what is your opinion on rehabilitation versus punishment?
Like what?
Like, forcing people to go to, like, rehab and recovery facilities versus, like, incarceration and jail?
Well, a lot of times they will let you do the rehab in lieu of that, and because he's young, they feel like instead of putting another young person in jail, they would rather see him be, rehabilitated. And he actually said something about doing rehab before all of this stuff happened. And so, that actually looks better if somebody is willing to try to do that. Because I really feel like just putting somebody in jail is not going to help. I've seen a lot of people go in jail, get out, and do the same things. I really feel like you need that rehab, the counseling. You need to learn some other type of, coping mechanisms for it. So, a lot of judges are willing to do that. But, if you're doing it the second, third, fourth time, they might not be, as lenient with you. But usually, so far what I've seen is that's what they would rather do. Is, you do rehab and you do it that way instead of going to jail.
Very good.